Hello friends, I am Dr. Kuldeep Mohadikar. In this video, I will present my 45th chapter from my series Literary Pearls entitled as Humour and Pathos in Charles Lamb. Friends, Lamb is one of the most prominent humorists in English literature. Humor is reflected not only in the content but even in the style in which the essays are written. According to Hugh Walker, I quote, humor is the most characteristic quality of Lamb's essays. Neither the brilliancy of Hazlitt, nor the harmony of De Quincey, nor the vigor of Macaulay, nor the eloquence of Ruskin, nor the purity of Goldsmith could for a moment be thought capable of expressing the meaning of Lamb. I unquote. Humor and pathos are all pervading in the essays of Lamb. Even in serious essays, some touch of humor will be found to amuse the readers. Humor may be defined as, I quote, the kindly amused contemplation of incongruity of life and artistic expression. I unquote. A humorist must have kindness, that is, sympathy. The essence of incongruity is contrast between what is and what ought to be. The true humorist observes this contrast amusingly and expresses it in his writings for the enjoyment of the readers. Charles Lamb was true humorist, for he had all these qualities. Then we will see what are the sources of humor. Then oddity. Charles Lamb is fully alive to the incongruities of life, that is, oddities of life, that is, all things of life. Any oddity in behavior of character are as once tickles him and he communicates it to his reader. Thus, he is amused by the two things of the upper master, James Boyer, one presenting fair weather and the other striking terror into the heart of the Christ Hospital as it indicated bloody execution. Then exaggeration, we will see the second source is exaggeration in Charles Lamb's humor and pathos. Sometimes exaggeration of particular detail in order to create laughter. Lamb's humor, as Dawson puts it, is often grotesque. Such exaggeration is a quality of most humorists. We get it in Dickens and is very basis of American humor. The essay, Chapter on Years, is full of humor based on exaggeration. We also find such humor in the two races of man, where mankind is divided between those who lend and those who borrow, and the borrower likened to the true prophetic that never ebbed. Then jokes were there at his own expense. A true humorist is one who is able to sustain a joke at his own expense. He can see much that is odd and below the normal level in himself. Lamb is constantly exaggerating his own weakness to the great amusement of his reader. In the essay Old and the New Schoolmaster, he exaggerates his own ignorance of science, history, geography, astronomy, etc. in the way that reader cannot help laughing. In the essay A Chapter on Years, he has not been able to learn the common tune, God Save the King, despite of his efforts. So there was again we come to the title. There is a blending of humor and pathos. Pathos and humor frequently jostle each others in the essays of Lamb. Curious mingling of these two ingredients in his works, tears of sympathy in many of his essays quickly follow laughter. Pathos of his life reflects in many of his essays. But he artistically hides this pathos with peculiar humor. The classic example of this bringing together of the humorous and pathetic is the essay Dream Children. Humor is inseparable from pathos, tears, smile mingle in his essays. The atmosphere throughout is one of the tender pathos, but an undercurrent of humor too runs throughout it. The end of the essay is the classic example of the blend of humor and pathos. The two dream children read into nothingness, and Lamb himself is left alone with the faithful Bridget. Unchanged humor is similarity allied with pathos in the Bachelor Complaints. Lamb was master of pathos and humor, as well as of the difficult art of blending the two in natural manner. Our smiles and tears are alike limited by our powers of insight and sympathy. Lamb's humor was largely the effect of a healthy protest against the overwhelming melancholy induced by morbid faint in his mind. He laughed to save himself from weeping. Lamb was a humorist in the fullest sense of the words. Lamb's pathos is skillfully blended with humor. Thus, in Christ Hospital, the suffering of the boys has been dealt with in humorous vein. The callous treatment of the upper master, Boyer, touches the heart of the reader, but at the same time, it also constitutes one of the most humorous passages. Lamb had a very sorrowful life. Actually, he did not marry because he had to look after his mad sister and old parents. He lived in the midst of poverty and domestic difficulties. He fell in love with the girl, but he could not marry her because of his domestic problems. But at the same time, he covers his experience with great tolerance. Lamb, with great skill, had achieved success with the blending of pathos and humor. Lamb's humor often takes an ironical turn. There is kind of reversed irony in his essays. In this way, we find at most of his each essay the blending of humor and pathos. Because of this treatment, sometimes his essays bring tears to the reader's eyes. In short, while reading his essays, tears and smile alternates. The laughter it causes is one of the self-satisfaction we get enough of wit in Lamb. Wit is an essential ingredient of Lamb's metaphors, comparisons, paradoxes, punning, etc. Lamb was too good natured to be satiric, and his humor does never take a satirical turn. So that was all from my side of humor and pathos in Charles Lamb. Thanks, friends.